Okay, so today I want to talk about my very first real estate transaction, everything that went wrong with it, everything that we learned from it, and everything that we implement today still from that very first one. So starting it off, this is back in 2012. The market was it was a little flat. We were dealing with foreclosure, short sales. We were dealing with, not a lot of money was moving in the economy, but there were still people who needed to buy just like today. And my mom, my first real estate lead actually came from my mom. She had called me one day and said, "Hey, this person that I work with wants to buy a home. Can you help them?" It was a new family. They had just had a baby, all that good stuff. And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to. I'll do what I can." And she's like, "Okay." And she gave me the number. I reached out. I hammered the call, and I was like, "Okay, this is my first one. I don't know what to do. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I do know that they want to. I know how to log into the MLS. I know their phone number. I know what they're looking for. So I'm just going to start sending them stuff." Ultimately, ended up coming down to the fact that we were going to schedule some showings, going to take a look. They were already pre-approved, and we go look at some homes. We start narrowing down what they want. Every question that they asked, I would write down. Every little thing that would happen, I would write it down, just so I could remember, just in case this stuff came up later, whether it was with them or somebody else. And then we ended up finding that home that was like perfect for them. And we go under contract, we write an offer, and ultimately went under contract. And I didn't know to ask for closing costs. I didn't know to ask for price reductions or anything like that. I was just swinging, and we ended up getting, I think, like $5,000 off the sales price, and then they got their closing costs paid for. And at the time, I thought that I was doing amazing, just by getting those things. And so that happens. We go under contract. The clients are happy about the deal. We ended up. I forgot to tell them to order an inspection. So we ordered an inspection late. There was just so many things that were happening that, you're new. You don't really know these things, but you think you know what to do. And long story short, everything ended up working out. I think the appraisal came in low too. And so that was a whole ordeal. And then we get up to the point of getting ready for closing. And, just everything that's going on, they were like, "Hey, we would like to go see the property tonight before closing, and then we'd also like to see it tomorrow." And I was like, "Okay, totally fine." And we went out that night. The alarm, I couldn't get the alarm to turn off, so the alarm's going off the entire time. The cops ended up coming. It was a whole thing. And so we really didn't get to see the property in detail, just because of, my lack of knowing the alarm code, and the police showing up, and they were like, "Okay, we'll just come back tomorrow." We were planning on doing that anyways. So they called me in the morning like, "Hey, let's get out there about 9 o'clock." I was like, "Great." Closing's at 1 p.m. And so we meet out there at 9. And the night before, I think someone had used the restroom or something. I don't remember what happened, but the toilet kept running, and so it created water in the bathroom. And so we go in, we walk in, and keep in mind this is 4 hours before closing. We walk in, and the entire ceiling where the living room is had fallen in from water damage, and it was absolutely insane. They're freaking out. I'm freaking out. I'm thinking, there's no way we're going to close today. There's no way we're closing this month. All of this stuff. Obviously, I didn't say that to them, but I was like, we're going to figure this out. Just grasping at straws. We're going to figure this out. Just let me call the other agent. We'll get something planned. And, they're super sad and everything. Everybody's freaking out. And, I called the agent. She's so calm. And I was like, wow, how can you be so calm during this moment? And little did I know that every single real estate transaction you're going to go through is going to have hiccups. And this just happened to be that one for us. And she was calm. She was like, hey, no worries. Do you have a contractor that you can call out there? If you don't, I have one. I was like, yes, my mentor does. I'll reach out to him. Call him. He gets a contractor to be out there in like less than an hour. They show up. They tell us like, okay, it's going to cost around this much to do it. And, so I get that number. I tell her, and she's like, okay, well, what we'll do is we'll just negotiate it inside the transaction, and we can either come up on the sales price or something. I don't remember how the process went. But we ended up getting it negotiated that they would pay to have the ceiling repaired, the leak repaired, and they would just pay our contractor after closing. So we get it all negotiated. Everything's good. Everything's green light. That happens. And ultimately we ended up closing and everything worked out, and the client was happy because they didn't have to move in for another week. And so long story short, I learned a couple different things. One, always schedule your inspection at least a day before, if not two. Go look at the house one more time if you can. 3, shit's gonna happen. Be prepared for it. Have stuff on a calendar. Have a system in place for scheduling inspections and all these other things. And be able to explain the process to your client so there's no questions about what's going to happen, what could happen, all that good stuff. Be the calm in the storm. There's so many things that I learned from that very first transaction. And we are still implementing a lot of these things today. And I still teach these things with my guys on a regular basis of just the process of real estate, how to have these conversations, how to negotiate better. All of these things are imperative inside of real estate and real estate transactions. And having a good group of people that understand how the systems work and why the systems are in play are going to help you go a lot further, a lot faster, because you're going to be able to do more. And so that was the first transaction. I've worked with those clients. They've used me probably 4 or 5 times now up to this point. I've closed their brother, their other family members, and it's just been such a good transaction. And I think the only reason that they used me again was the simple fact that we were able to kind of keep things calm and be able to save that property closing for them, because they were looking so forward to it, and everything got worked out the way that it should have. Now, with all of that being said, who you work with inside of a real estate transaction or in anything that you do is so important that you can trust them, that that they're going to give you good service, that they've been in the business long enough to be able to know what's coming down the line. Experience is such an imperative thing. You can be taught anything in a book, but if you don't have the experience and understanding that things can, when things do go wrong, that you have the ability to call an audible, that's what saves deals. And I also learned that I absolutely love when everything is going crazy. The other agents doesn't think that this thing's going to work out. The buyers don't think it's going to work out. And I'm able to be that calm in the storm, or the firefighter to kind of save the day, is something that I love. And it's a passion of mine of being able to be somebody that people can trust and be reliant on, especially inside of a transaction, but also in life. And that's one of those things that I genuinely enjoy. And so if you guys like this content, if you like the content we've been putting on our shorts, if you like our social media content, whatever it is, let us know, because I would love to do more of these story times about what I've learned, what we've been through as a team, as what we've been through as a company. And, just being able to share this stuff is awesome. So just a couple points. Y'all have a good day.